Hello and welcome to the first Zimmerot vlog video. Zimmerot is my Hobbiton-based tactics game. It's an open source project that lives in GitHub and is written in the Rust programming language. You can download latest development builds or play the online version on itch.io. A few weeks ago I have released a 0.5 version of the game and wrote a giant announcement post about it. What happened since then? I have been mostly working on small visual improvements. First, a tile under the cursor is highlighted now. Highlighting is disabled on touch devices by ignoring an event if its delta movement is 0. Next, agents can now be flipped horizontally to match their action's direction. I have wanted to add this for a long time because sometimes units were attacking each other backwards and it was weird. Added simple dodge animations when attack misses. A helper message is now shown when agent's move is interrupted. Now agents have special sprite frames for some abilities. It's a compromise between having real animations and only static pieces. Also, Spearman will get special directional attack frames soon, because he can attack enemies 2 tiles away from him and it looks weird with completely static sprites sometimes. There are a couple of non-code updates. I have added a roadmap section to the readme to show in which direction the project moves. I also added a new inspiration section with a list of games that inspire me to work on Zimmerot. The game now has a text logo. Not sure if it really fits the game, but it will do for now. It's a manually low poly vectorized text written with the old London font. I have started spreading the word about the game. I got Ozakarif Games domain, but haven't created a landing page there yet, so it redirects to the devlog for now. Facebook and VK pages were created, and I have also revived my Patreon page. That's all news for today. I'll try to keep these videos small and release them every week or two. Bye!